welcome to my channel. So I am new to YouTube, new to videoing, editing, and everything of the sort, so if you have any tips or tricks, they'd be greatly appreciated. Anyways, about my channel. So I am going to be taking books and reading them, making notes on them, and then giving you, the people, an unbiased book review. So I'm not going to be talking about how much I loved the book, or how well written it was, or badly written it was, or whether or not I think you should read it. This is going to be strictly unbiased, so I'm going to be giving them scores, kind of like how they do in the movies, G, PG, PG-13, R, etc., etc. And I will have meters that I'm kind of going along with it. So there's going to be a meter based off of how much gore is in there, how much romance is in there, how much spiciness is in there, if you know what I mean, how much sass and sarcasm, how funny it is, etc., etc. And that way, and my voice is going out. This is great. That way, you as the people can figure out what book you want to read next. And that way it's not as overwhelming. So I originally got this idea because I know when you're going into a bookstore or looking online or everything that it kind of gets overwhelming with the multitude of books, and especially if you just finished a series and you absolutely love everything about it, all of the characters, the content, the subject of it, what they're talking about, what they're doing, whether it was action or adventure or romance or anything like that. I know you kind of have that taste in your mouth and you just crave more of it. So this will give you kind of a sneak peek into some of the books that I'll be going over. Mainly it's going to be teen and young adult because I'm a young adult and I was a teen previously. So that's all the books that I have. I have more books at home, but as a college student, you can't really take your whole library with you because that would be way too heavy. The other reason why I'm doing this is for the authors. Well, not really for the authors because I can't really do anything for them, but it's to help keep their ratings on the book up because there's a lot of books out there that have gotten bad scores simply because either somebody told them they should give them a bad review and they haven't actually read the book, or there was a young kid that asked for a book for Christmas or whatnot or their birthday, and the book was just a little bit too old for them in content, if you know what I mean, and then the parents got upset and gave the book a bad review, which it doesn't deserve a bad review, it just wasn't for that age range. This video series. This whole video series is for people of all ages, so kids, teens, young adults, however, adults, parents of kids, so whoever wants to watch it, they can, by all means. But this is just so that way it can help you pick out a next book that you might like, or if you've been thinking about wanting to read this book series but you're afraid of how much action or how much gore or how much spiciness was in there, then hopefully this will give you a little bit of peace of mind. And for the parents, I know it's very, very difficult to kind of keep an eye on what your kids are reading, and I know you just want to expose them to certain things at a certain time. So, like I said earlier, this book review series is not going to be over how I think that the author did a great job on the book or how well written it was or whether or not I think you should read it, because everybody has entirely different opinions and I can't tell you what you should and shouldn't read because, you know, you're your own person and you have your free will to read a book whatever you want to read. So I'm not going to keep you from an adventure just because I didn't like the book, which is very rare because usually I like all books, besides the point. So I just wanted to say that, you know, since I've no training in it, no education on whether or not the book was well written, except for, you know, my own gained knowledge from reading. Again, besides the point, I keep digressing. Basically, I can't tell you what you should and shouldn't read. That's entirely up to you. Now, I will say sometimes my enthusiasm for the book might shine through, but I'm going to try to keep that to a bare minimum and stick to the status quo of what I've been trying to do here. But I'll let you know before and try to keep that to a bare minimum, and the good thing is I can always edit those parts out later. Okay, so I'm going to go on and start talking about the ratings. Again, these are based off of the movie ratings, so it'll kind of be a little bit easier for you to gauge what kind of what content is in the book. That way, if it's age appropriate or not, then you can kind of say maybe later or maybe that's not for me. Anyways. for my G rating. So G rating is for all ages. It contains nothing of violence, nothing of sex, nothing of language, nothing of nudity, or anything of the matters that may be seen as offensive to parents of young kids. And there may be some snippets of language. I have little notes here, that's why I'm reading that. But there may be some snippets of language that kind of goes beyond the polite conversation. So colloquial expressions that may seem or appear a little bit more, not harsh, but a little bit stronger words. But it's just colloquial, nothing of explicit language. There may be some depictions of violence, but those are very, very, very minimal, as you would see in a G-rated movie. There is no sex, no nudity, or drug use present. The end. Alright, so for the PG rating, or parental guidance suggested, there may be some material not suitable for kids. There also may be some profanity and some depictions of violence or brief nudity, but nothing extravagant or explicitly said or stated or shown or anything like that. There is also no drug use whatsoever. Strictly PG, just like you'd see in the movies. For the PG-13 rating, or parents strongly cautioned, some material may be inappropriate for under 13. Again, this is entirely up to you and your parents, or you and your kids, about what you think you should read. I'm just going off of the movie ratings, so you do you. But this goes beyond the PG rating and theme of, again, violence, nudity, sensuality, language, adult activities, or other elements of that sort. Any drug use used in this will automatically cause it to be a PG-13. There may be some more brief nudity in this as well, but it's not generally sexually oriented, so it's just going to be kind of just straightforward nudity. Not that there really is anything. Anyways, there also may be some depictions of violence. However, it's not going to be very realistic or explicit, so it might just say like a man was stabbed, or they were hit across the head, or something of that sort. It won't be like blood was gushing out everywhere and it was nasty. There also may be a single use, like if there's any use of a cuss word whatsoever, single use of it, like the F word or the S word, like I mentioned previously, it's automatically going to be PG-13. The words are not necessarily geared towards sex, it's just them saying it. So, again, if it has more nudity than before, more violence than before, if it has any drug use, or if they say any cuss words, automatically PG-13. So for the R rating, or the greater than 17 adult supervision ratings, this may include some adult themes, adult activities not appropriate for kids, and there might be some hard language, intense or persistent violence, sexually oriented nudity, drug abuse, or other elements not appropriate for kids. So this is for the, I'd say young adult, maybe teen if you're an older teen, but young adult. So this would be something that if parents are comfortable with your kids reading, or kids if you're comfortable with reading, or if you're around 17, 18, 19, etc., and you're comfortable with reading that kind of things, they'll automatically get this rating. Again, I'll go through and have all of my meters as well, so you can kind of gauge what you're wanting specifically towards that. So if it's just a lot of spiciness, then you're not into that, then you probably don't have to read this book unless you absolutely want to, but at least you'll have kind of a expose of what you're going to be reading about, so that way you're not completely distraught or taken aback and shocked by what's in there. Okay, for my spicy meter, again, the spicy is you know, but it's going to be rated from 1 through 10. So for 1, it's going to be nothing of the sort. So it's not the book just doesn't have any of that whatsoever. It's not supposed to be in there, not applicable. 2 is going to be talk of hand holding or hand holding. 3 is talk of kissing, like on the cheek or something that, a mom would kiss her kid's forehead, that kind of thing. 4 is like a quick peck, so it's not just like the main content of what you're looking for, they just kind of did it in passing. 5 is kissing, so making out like a middle school kiss. 6 is heavy making out. 7 is a little bit more than that, like going horizontal. I don't know, that's a big thing for parents. They don't like reading or hearing about that their kids are reading about how people who are like attracted to each other that are going horizontal or sleeping together or anything like that. I know that's very offensive to some of them. So I will be noting things like that in there, so that way if you don't want your kid reading about it, or if you don't want to read about it, then you can kind of steer clear from that. I won't be giving away any kind of spoilers whatsoever. I'll just simply state that, 2 characters went horizontal, or they slept together. Again, that's not like sleeping together. That's just like actually catching some Z's. Anyways, 8's a little bit more like nudity, or there's like sex involved. 9 is very descriptive sex, and 10 is hold up, cold shower kind of thing. For my nasty meter, I didn't really create like a score of 1 to 5 or anything like that, because if somebody's reading something gory, you can't say like it was very gory, like 5 gory, or it was 2 gory, because gory is gory. Some people just don't like blood. So I think I'm just going to note what kind of happened. Again, no spoilers, and then I'll note like how many times it happened. So for like stabbing, I'll say there were about like 5 stabbings in this book, not very descriptive, but they happened. Or there was this big fight scene where, somebody's arm got chopped off. I know this is very like scary that I'm saying this, not like anyways. Alright, for my funny meter, it's going to be a score of 1 through 5. 1 is not applicable, or NA, so that's just saying that if a book was not supposed to be funny whatsoever, if it was a serious book, then it's probably going to receive a score of 1. 2 is, when you read something funny and you just kind of like breathe a little bit harder through your nose. I would do it, but it's just a little weird. So that's what number 2 is going to be. 3 is I smiled or chuckled. 4 is I laughed out loud, and 5 is I put the book down, I'm wheezing, there are tears in my eyes. I know that's a little objective on those, but I'm just kind of trying to be as unbiased as possible when I go and read those and do that. So if it's anything remotely funny, or what I might think that some people find funny, even if I didn't actually chuckle, I'll note it and keep that in mind when I put the funny meter up. For my sad meter, 1 through 5 scoring as well. 1 is not applicable, so if it's not supposed to be a sad book, then it's probably going to receive a score of 1. 2 is I frowned. 3 is I teared up. 4 is a steady cry, blurry vision, like you just can't seem to stop getting the tears out of your eyes. And 5 is bawling my eyes out. Again, this is with the funny meter. It's slightly objective, or subjective, but I'm going to, again, try to stay as unbiased as possible. For my action meter, I'm thinking I might do this one kind of like the nasty meter, but I kind of still gave it a rating anyways. But depending on the book, I might just take note of the scenes and the number of, or like the level of intensity within those scenes. But for my scoring of it, so 1 is going to be no action, no fighting, no intense scenes whatsoever. So if it's not supposed to be an action book or anything like that, it's going to receive a score of 1. 2 is the action just happens every once in a while. 3, it's consistent with the story. So if it's an action book, and it will have, parts of action or portions of action and little lulls and some more action, so it will probably receive a score of 3. For 4, I have lots of action throughout, so it's just consistently going. There's less lulls than a normal action book. And then 5 is on the edge of my seat the whole time. My heart is racing, going a mile a minute, and I can't deal with it. So that will be 5. Those are probably going to be like those really high intense action sequences. For my romance meter, again, I have a score of 1 through 5. So for 1, it is not the main point of the story. It's just not included in the story. It's not a romance book, so it's not going to have any kind of romance in it whatsoever. And that way it will receive a score of 1. 2, the romance is there, but it's not the main content, so it's just as like a side note. They'll mention it every once in a while, but not the main content. For 3, it's going to be discussed frequently enough to note. So if they just commonly point it out or try to make not a big deal of it, but just that the author notes it and takes time out of their writing to note it, then it's going to receive a score of 3. For 4, it highly influences the plot of the story. So if it's a romance book, it's probably going to receive a score of 4 or more. For 5, it is the whole point of the story. So if it's strictly romance, it's going to receive a score of 5. So my last meter is going to be my sass and sarcasm meter. This kind of includes like banter between the characters. I'm a big fan of that, so I think that's also kind of something that people look for. They, appreciate the banter or the different kind of personality types within the characters. So this is kind of getting a overview in that bit of content. So for 1, it's not applicable. So if it's not a book where there is banter, if it's like a biography or something like that, and the person's not very sassy or sarcastic, then it's probably going to receive a score of 1. 2, it doesn't have any, it's just not written for it. 3 is every once in a while. 4 is frequently incorporated into it, so the author makes a point to make a deal about it. And 5 is good night, I can't even deal anymore. So with sass and sarcasm, really it's kind of you kind of get it or you don't, but I'll keep that in mind when I do my meters. And just as a quick overview and review of everything I've done, I'm just saying that this series, or this YouTube series, is not about reviewing books from my own personal opinions. This is strictly going to be unbiased. So that way it might help you as a reader or a starting reader or anything start to try to figure out what book you should read next. Because I've read a lot of books and I thought that maybe I could help somebody figure out what book they want to read next. So in the series I will be, again, going through those ratings and the meters. I'll tell a little bit about the book, if it's a part of a book of a series, or whether or not all the books are written and out, or if they're making more of them. I personally like to read books that have the series all out because I am kind of impatient when it comes to waiting for new books, which is why I haven't read some series. So at least when I start the series, it's just going to be books that I've read and full series that are out. Eventually, if I start getting a subscription base or fan base or friends, because that's what I'm going to call you, we're bookworms, or if y'all have any books specifically that y'all want me to do, or you just think that the books are slightly underrated and you want to give them a little bit more publicity, I will totally read those. Just leave them in the comments and I'll take note of it. I know there's a bunch of series that I'm going to be going over that I've already read, so it hopefully shouldn't take me too long to get these videos out, but I think the main part, or the longest part, is video editing. Again, any tips and tricks, greatly appreciated. So hopefully this will help all the readers try to figure out what they want to read next, and that way it's not as overwhelming when you go into the bookstore next time, and you can kind of have an idea of what you're looking for and get a little bit more excited for reading that next book. So I've heard so many stories of people saying this book series literally got them through difficult times in their lives or made this, the summer better. So this is hopefully going to be a little bit more of an introduction to adventure opportunities for you, so that way you can continue on your reading journey. So I am going to go ahead and say my goodbyes. I will post another video later on my library to kind of give you an idea of what kind of books I'm going to be going on next. I do have another list and some other suggestions for my friends of other book series that I need to read, so I will be putting those out there. It might take a little bit of time because I'm going to actually reread the books and make notes on them throughout, so that way I can give you quality content rather than just saying, I think there was a fighting scene around here. So that's what I'm going to be doing. But if there are any books that you want me to read specifically, or that you're very enthusiastic about, or your favorite book, and you don't see it in that video or behind me right now, then just leave a comment below and I'll definitely take note of that and add it to my list. And for all you other bookworms, if you want to subscribe, by all means, please do. And then also don't forget to like the video, because I worked really hard on this video and it's taken a lot of effort and like 3 weeks of editing, and it's been fun. But I am going to get this video out there, dang it. It's gonna happen. I'm gonna do it for the people. Like I said, goodbye for now. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you next time. Bye.